Hello again, my friends. Welcome once more back to the Cellar of Dreams. I'm feeling a bit ropey at the moment. One of those things. Um, right, this is going to be the start of a sequence which is going to continue for at least the next week. So the next 3, maybe 4 videos. Uh, I'm going to be commissioning this board. This is board L. Sits above board G. This is basically the station throat. This is the big one. It's not going to be all of it because the goods yard isn't getting done, but I'm going to do the rest of the station approach. So we're going to have a look at that. This one, it's all stuff I've done in recent videos. So I'm going to be doing a couple of short videos. Today will be one of them. We're just going to look at what I'm doing over the next couple of weeks. Sorry, it's week or two, probably the next day or two. One of the key things is the little PCA9685 board, which I don't have one off to hand. And this is part of the problem. I don't have one to hand. I need one for this board. So I've ordered some more. I've ordered some more of the TLC 5947 lighting boards. I think that's what they are. They should be here end of the week at the weekend. So I can't commission the existing point work. So let's have a look at what we are going to do. This is Leopard Street. Sniffles. Oh yeah, and the printer's going behind me. Now, previous videos, I've got the 2 double slips in, and I've got 2 sets of points. So that's 6 servos. I've fitted the servos. I've connected the relays. Obviously, it's not powered yet. That's been done. Yesterday, down here, I fitted another one of these. This has got the power connections into the back of it. Temporary wires have been disconnected. So that's a little job that's ready to do. I've got, arrived today, another 8-channel relay board. I've used 6 channels already. I'm going to need another 3 for what I'm going to be doing in the next day or 2. So I'm just going to fit another one of those. I'm going to have to fit a couple of PCA9685 boards to this one. I've got the board controller ready. So we're getting there. So what am I going to do in the meantime? Well, let's spin you around. You can see the other end of what we've got here. Previously, I've shown these bits. This is this will go into the goods yard. There'll be another point here. This will be a crossover. There'll be sidings going off. I'm not doing anything with that. That's just going to be a point. Short term, it may well get a stub of track added to it, and I can put a few wagons on it. Yay, basic goods yard. This will be, we got platform 1 over here, 2, 3. This is going to be platform 4. This is going to be platform 5. That will go off to platform 6. That may just be a short length of track as well at the moment, just other bits. That end of the layout's clutter, not bothered. So the short-term job, and this is what I'm going to try and get done tonight, and then I'm going to do a little bit more tomorrow, and this is going to be this first video. I'm going to get these points laid, these 3. Now, the only complicated bit here, and it is very, very slightly complicated, is this short section. The reason that exists, I'll put you back far enough you'll be able to see why this exists. There's going to be a piece of track coming up here, which is going to be platform 3. And then there's a piece of track here, which is platform 4. These are medium points, not the long points. So if I put this directly onto here, this distance narrows. It doesn't narrow by much, but it narrows. I want the rail centres here to be 100 mil. This means the platform will be the same width as the platform that's over here, not a little bit narrower. They're going to be narrow enough anyway. Where are they? Here we are. These are my temporary platforms. As has been pointed out in the comments, you can get ready-made platforms. Hornby ones There's nothing wrong with them. They don't fit the gap I've got. You see, I need to be able to put a platform like between two tracks. And I'll be able to do it over here with one of these. The Hornby platforms are a little bit too wide. It's the main reason I'm not using them. Visually, yeah, they're all right. The Scenecraft ones, they do look much better. But anyway, so I've done points before, so I'm not going to go through the process of that. I've marked these three out. What I'm going to be doing tonight is soldering the droppers, drilling the holes one by one as we go along. Then when they're all ready, I'm just going to go like that. I'm going to put some glue under it. I'm going to put it back down again. Electrically, each point is totally separate. There's insulated joiners here, here, and here. This is for convenience as much as anything else. It saves me worrying, with this, which rail do I need to power? I'm just going to power them all. They are, however, electrically all going to be the same block as this double slip. So a train sitting the little approach road there on any of this track or any of this is going to trigger a single block and say, whoa, station approach throat is occupied. Can still depart on this road. The approach track is occupied. And it's going to run to a little bit beyond each of the points. I mean, this one, it'll end here just because that's going to be its own thing. And that is essentially, if a train is on here, it is either still coming in which case this is probably blocked, or it's getting ready to go out, in which case this is blocked. I don't want a train to be sitting here, fouling this. A train sitting on here will probably be fouling that one. So it's just, the throat is going to be one block. It's not a block a train should ever sit in. There'll be signals controlling the entrance to it at that end, and each of the platforms will have signals controlling outwards. This block is not, I call them transient blocks. Trains can move through them, but they don't stop in them. So there we go. Right, I'm going to get on with this. We'll have a look in a bit when I've finished it. So, see you in a mo. Okay, here we are a short while later. The point work is in and glued. I'm just going to stick some weights on it, which will help keep it flat while the glue sets, which is basically anything I can find that's heavy enough. Screwdrivers and other bits and pieces. I'm not using the coils of wire because, frankly, they don't weigh anything. Right. Also, while I was doing that, and I have some more platforms. They are a bit garish in white. I did the other ones in grey. I've run out of the grey. But anyway, that's another 600mm of platform. They're 200mm length. So, yeah. That's it for tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back down, hopefully doing a little bit more as part of this one. And then that'll be that. So I'll catch you all in a minute. And for me, tomorrow. Points. Yay. It's not completely pointless. Catch you around. Right. Second part of this. What have we got? The points are in. Glue's dried. A bit that's going to need a bit of paint, but yeah, whatever. So, today, going to carry on with a bit of prep work. So this sort of follows on from the preceding bit. Mentioned a few times, big jobs, small jobs. Wiring this board up is a big job. It's going to take several, it might even take more than a day. It's certainly going to take quite a few hours. I'm just moving the 3D printed platforms out of the way. I'll ignore the fact that all that fell over. So today what I'm doing is looking at bits. So I've got the relay block. There's one of these already installed. I need to put another one in. I've got 9 points. There's going to be more than 9. I need more than 8 of these. So got that, which I showed in the other one. What I've also got, I didn't realize I had this. These. This is, if I open this up, I can get into it. PCA9685. Get in here. the camera is. Servo controller. Just dropped it. Going to get that ready today. And also, two, get them out of the box, of these little beasties, which are the PCA9685 input-output boards. So what I'm doing today, in the second part of this video, is getting these ready for installation. So we'll go to the desk, we'll have a little bit of a look. I'm going to go through what I do to them. Then I'm going to go into voiceover mode while I do it, because you don't need to see me soldering wires in real time. Let's go to the desk and have a look. Alright, so first, this little beastie. These are relatively easily available. There's only one thing I don't like on them, which is this screw terminal. It won't take large, it'll take little wire ferrules, but it won't. I use 3202. You ain't getting one of the ferrules from one of those into that. Yeah, is what it is. It's also got, if we consider this here to be the chip, and it's got a line called OE, which is output enable. And it's an active low line. So this goes off here to servos. Yeah, excuse my writing. And that's the outputs on the yellow pins down here. Now they don't go live unless this is at a low logic level. And to do that, something just fell over. To do that, there is a little resistor that sits right up here. And that goes down here. It's a 10K resistor. And it goes to ground. And what that means is if there's nothing here, if that's not connected, that's at a low level and away you go. And that's on the board. So you don't need to do anything with the output enable line, which is quite clever. Don't want that. I'm going to replace that, and my board controller's got this, with a 10K. It goes to plus the voltage, and it adds 3 volts in this case. And what that means is, by default, this board does nothing. So when this all switches on, the servos just go, and then the microcontroller can come in, and when it's finished powering up and it's got all the servos calibrated and it's told this what it wants all of them to do by default, which I set it to go into the middle, is now you can switch on. And then it will start getting the information on to where they go. It basically just stops things ripping about. You have little pin headers here. You can plug the DuPont connectors into this. I don't have any of them around. This style, they just go on there fairly easily. It's reasonably robust. I don't like that style of connector though. I use these. This is a JST XH connector. Whenever you see people say, oh, I use a JST connector, there's hundreds of the bleeding things. This is just one of them, and this is an XH. And what I do with that is it goes in that end, because the two ends are exactly the same. At the moment, I'm only using one of these boards, and these little bits up here tell you which board you're using. These are all set to be 0, because in the middle there is a row of things that connect to the pins. The top is voltage, the lower line is ground. So it's connecting all those 6 address lines to 0. If you've got 2 of them, what you do is you take that one off and you put it there. And now you can daisy chain. But because this is the I to C bus, the 2 ends are exactly the same. So I can solder that on there. I remove this because I don't want the pins loose. The other thing to note with this, and if you've seen my controller things, you'll have seen I only use 5 of these wires. What we've got coming out of this, go this way, we've got ground, we've got output enable, we've got SCL, SDA, they're the data lines, make that a bit bigger. We've got VCC, now that's the supply for the chip, and then we've got V+. V+ is the one I don't use. I feed that in here. So yes, I use a 6-pin connector. I only connect 5 pins of it. I use a 6-pin connector because I use 5 pins for other things, and it just makes it a little bit harder. Japanese term for it is pokioki. Essentially, it's defensive design. This is, I've got a 6-pin connector to go in here. Even though it's only got 5 wires, it's a 6-pin connector. Excuse me. Just found what fell over. Never mind. It just makes it harder to wire up wrong. So I'm going to get this set up. I'm going to do that in fast forward. And then we shall return to have a look at the other one. So I'm going to fire up the soldering iron. Vadum, fast forward. Here we go. And that's that board done. That's now ready. There's one more step I need to do with it, which is, if I can find where I put the glue. There's the super glue gone. Now it's over here. This little board here for it to sit on. Put it on that way around. Just check it's going to fit, which it does. And this is how I mount them to these boards. It's if I can get into it, it's super glue. Very simple. These mountings, as I've said before, are 3D printed. They hold these boards quite nicely. I can just go onto here. Yeah, this one's got a bit of nonsense around it, but it'll do. Super glue goes on. I'll just put a bit more on over the top. I'll leave that to dry, and that's that board done. That's it. That's all I do to the servo controllers. The resistor I've removed over here is the pull up, the pull down resistor that the thing has on it. I'm going to remove some of this threading from over here. A bit more of it there. Right, that's that board done. Let's have a look at the other ones. Now this, as I said, is the little PCA9685 board. You can use these on breadboard. The way you do it is you take these pins. If I can get these right, these go into this side here and this side here. There's something else we need to do, which we'll have a little look at in a sec. You can stick that into breadboard, and you stick this one on the end here. A little bit awkward to hold, but there you go. Or you can have pins that stick upright. You can do it however you like. And now you can prototype with these on breadboard. You can't get these chips in a breadboard friendly format. You have to get in these breakouts. I don't use that. I don't do that. I use connectors. So again, I need a one of the JST XH. So I need a 5-pin for the end. Which goes there. And then I need to grab hold of, just go into another box quickly, a couple of 10-way ones. Yeah, I buy these. Yeah, I get them on AliExpress and I just get them in bulk. Once you've got the crimping tool for it, these connectors are actually remarkably good. I wouldn't say they're idiot proof. I mean, they're fairly idiot proof because I'm using them. And I put these in, so these sit facing that way round, and that sits on the end. And I'm going to solder those on in a minute. However, before I do that, there's something else we need to look at on the back. Now, here, there are 2 little pads next to each other with a gap. This connects VCC to VDD. And if you look on this side, VCC is here, VDD is over here. Yeah, so what's that about then? Well, if you ignore that bit, each of these sides has got 8 input-output lines and a power and a ground line. Now you might not want that power line to come through here. This is set up so there is a little voltage regulator on board. It can run quite nicely. I use these at 3.3 volts. They work perfectly. But you can use them to power something else, which I've done recently with a relay board. So I've got a single connector that goes into here, brings out ground on a black wire, VDD on a red wire, and then other wires that go into relays, which is what I'm going to be using here. I've got the 8-pin, the 8-gang relay, and it's going to be one of these. I'm going to get it right this time. It's on the right side. It'll take its power and its ground for the logic, and then its 8 control lines from there, just in one connector that'll go between that, and it'll power the other board up. That's that bit. We've got these over here. Now, these are the address lines. Now, if you remember on the other board, there were resistors. This one hasn't got the resistors. Now, I didn't realize this when I started using these. And if you fire this up as it is, its configuration lines, which are these pads in the middle, are floating, which means they could be anything, and it'll vary by the chip. Some chips, it'll treat them as a 0. Some it might treat them as a logic high. Yeah. So you power these up and think, why doesn't it work? And then you run a test script, and instead of it being on address 20, it's on address 24 or something. So what we need to do is I need to bridge that and then configure these. Now this one is going to be number 20. So it is going to get them all tied low. I have a second one because for this board, assuming I can get the thing out of its packet, love these things. This one is going to be address 21. And to do that, what I'm going to do is solder that one to ground, solder that one to ground, solder that one to power. And this is again the VDD. If you don't join that together, you've got to put power in elsewhere to do it. So let's get these done first, because this is relatively straightforward. Now, I use flux for this. I've had people telling me you don't need to, and they're right, you don't need to with flux cord solder. However, when you're using for these sort of little pad things, I find it is quite a bit easier to add just a little bit to it. So let's get this out, and then obviously in the end I need to label them so I get the right way around. So this one is going to have these top two soldered across, and this is literally all you do is you just put a little solder bridge between these two pads. You need to be careful to make sure they only bridge the two pads you want them to bridge, like that. And just neaten that one up a little bit. Solder on there. There we go. And then here, this one is going to go this way. A bit more in there. Get on there as a yeah. It can go onto there, and then, yeah, and then bridge this down here, in there. That's the sort of blob I was trying to get on all of these, which I'm going to try again, because I don't like that big lump of solder sticking up. It doesn't mean it won't work. I mean, it still work just as well. I just don't like it. So let's sort that out. Get on. Get on there. There we are. I like that. Like that. And like that. There we are. Done. That's that one. This one. Do this side first. There we go. And all of these are then to ground. It will solder eventually. There we are. That's that. These now need the connectors, and like a fool, I've got enough connectors out to do one of them when I've actually got to do both. So I'm going to get a couple more. And then we shall go back into high speed mode, and I shall cover this up. But as I say, these are small, not particularly interesting jobs, but stuff that needs doing. So when I come to the weekend, I'm ready to go, all systems go. So get these in the right way round. It's another way, I mean, you could identify them differently by doing them different ways round. I tend to have them like that. Get in the hole. Oop. Got a 6-way out, I need a 5-way. Put a 5-way in that and I'll swap the other one around. But that's there. Let's find the 5 instead of the 6. You see, they do all look the same. I think you can get these in different colours. I've not seen them on, well, not on AliExpress in different colours, but I think you can get, you know, like I want a red connector, I want a yellow connector, I want a blue one. And that again can help with working out what goes where. Right, these now need soldering, so I'm going to get that done. I'm going to get them labelled and then we'll be back. So catch you in a sec. So that's that. I just need a pen, a permanent marker, because normal felt tips don't draw on plastic terribly well. So that one is number 20. So that gets a label 0x20. And this one 0x21. And that's just to tell me which one is which, because these are also getting some little support pads they're going to stick to. Get these the right way around. And pull the fluff off. So get them the right way around, that would help. Yeah, these just go on. I'm just checking these do actually fit, which they do. And then again, it's a bit of super glue and job done. A bit on there. It's that one. Do this one here. Again, this is 2 different colours because these were printed at different times. Goes. I suppose the tricky bit is holding the wretched glue while you're doing it. Right, get on there and there. And again, I just put a little bit of glue over the top just to hold it. You could print these with like longer pegs that spring out and other bits and pieces. I can't be bothered, to be honest. I just put them on and glue them. It's easier. Right. That's that done. Back to the layout. Right. So that's it for this video. Short one. Yeah. It's a small update job. You don't need to see everything done on it in real time. Short video. The next one is going to consist of installing some of this stuff. Now again, that is something you've seen me do recently on the board over there. So I'm just moving a stool out of the way from under my feet so I don't trip over the thing. Anyway, so I've got these to put on the bottom of the board. The board will come off. It will go onto my workbench. I've got the only other job I've got left to do before I start doing that is set these up. And literally all I do is take them out of the bag. I plug them into something. I've got a test board I can do it on now. And I say, center yourself. So it's 180 degree rotation. I say, go to 90 degrees. I can then put the arm on it. It's in the middle. Done. I'll do that off camera because it's not particularly interesting. And then we're going to install stuff. So that's it for this video. We go back over here. Angle you down a little bit. the new part of the station approach. I'm going to get these still have got the springs in. As before, I'll take those out later. But that's it for this video. As always, comments welcome. I will catch you all in the next one, which this should be going out Thursday, so the next one will probably go out Saturday, which will cover basically whatever I get up to Friday night, which the idea is going to be, I want to at least get these bits in. Then the next video will be Tuesday, where hopefully this is working and we can look at testing it and configuring it. I'll go through what I actually do to set a point up. I'll do one. I'm not going to do them all. But it basically consists of how to calibrate a servo. And these can move quite nicely. What do we do in the software? We'll have a little look at what the sequence is for actually changing a point via the software. And then we'll drive trains. I'll get Bucky the loud engine back out. And we'll set this up. Just to test it, the following step is clearing this end of the layout, setting all of the other tracks up. Then we'll actually be able to run the station. So over the next couple of videos, that's what's going to happen. Until then, likes, comments, shares, etc. are more than welcome. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.